Hi, I'm Connie. Welcome back to my channel. This recipe I consider, I think it is, of classic. Everybody has their own version of it, really. This is my version, which over the years I might have changed a little bit because I might switch up the meat that goes into it. It's a favorite of Bill and mine. This is actually 4 servings because it's 4 peppers and they're pretty well packed in there with the meat and the rice. Just to give you a little background, if I have peppers that I find peppers on sale, I'll buy them. I might not use them right away. I'll freeze them and then I'll take them down as I did yesterday to make this recipe. So here's how I make stuffed peppers. This particular time I made it with ground Italian sausage. And here's the recipe. I hope you enjoy. Now, ideally, you want to use the same size. As you can tell, these are not the same size peppers. That's okay. They're kind of mixed and matched. If you're using fresh peppers, you will want to slice off the tops and empty them of their membranes and also the seeds. Mine are frozen, so I thawed them a little in the microwave. Then bake them for 20 minutes at 350 upside down. Next step is to chop a medium-sized onion into smaller pieces. They add a nice flavor to the stuffed peppers. Set aside your onions and finely chop about 5 cloves of garlic. Set that aside also. And here's the meat that I'll be using. It is a pound of mild ground Italian sausage. You can use hamburger meat instead, or a combo of the two, or maybe even pork if you'd like to do it that way. All will work in this recipe. Now you're ready to start cooking. First, drizzle about 2 tablespoons of olive oil into your pan. And I had my heat up to about medium. And then start sauteing your onions. Get them nice and translucent. Now add your garlic to the pan, but be careful not to cook that for more than a minute or 2. Garlic has a way of getting kind of bitter if you overcook it. Now it's time to slap in that meat. That looks really beautiful. That's the whole pound of ground Italian sausage, which you're going to brown. Cut it up good. Make sure that you cook it well. Oh, just a little note. The package said that it was mild Italian sausage. And it was for the most part, but it did still manage to have just a tiny little kick. Just so you're prepared. We didn't mind it. We like our sausage to have a little kick anyway. We don't want it, but we didn't want it really that super spicy inside of the pepper and just to overwhelm it. The idea with the pepper is it's almost like a little explosion of flavors with all the things that are going into it. You have the pepper, you have the meat, you have the onions, everything, your spices, which are coming up next. I get the seasoning pretty simple with oregano, just a sprinkling. You see here, I would say that's probably at least a teaspoon, a good teaspoon, or a little more than that. Also, we put oregano and we put parsley, just to give that little Italian seasoning. To the meat, we also added some salt and pepper, and that's to taste. You can leave that out too if you want, but we like salt and pepper into there. For another layer of flavor, we also added a nice, I guess you could call, I don't know what you call that, like you just sprinkle on that. That is Worcestershire sauce. That gives it another little layer of flavor. And believe it or not, roughly about maybe a little tiny bit less, about a tablespoon of brown sugar went into the meat as well. And you mix that all together. Once the spices are all blended in, the Worcestershire sauce as well, you're going to take it off and just set it aside. Let it cool slightly and add about a cup of cooked rice. Blend that up good. If you don't have any that's already made, I didn't, and so I had to make some more. I also added about a half cup of shredded mozzarella and mix that up too. Don't worry if it melts, you'll still have that little flavor of it. And this is what it's going to look like. This is your filling. Again, set that aside and now you can start making your sauce. I usually have my own marinara that is made, homemade, but in this case I had a jar of Prego, and we're going away in a few days. I'm not about to throw it out to waste it, so I'm going to use it today, and I make sure I get as much out of it as I can. This is a frugal kitchen. Also, I have about half of a small container of tomato paste, and as you can tell, that I'm going to add to it just to add a little bit of thickness also to the sauce. And I know that the Prego comes with its own seasonings, but I'm going to add to that also some ground basil, oregano, and parsley, just to give it that extra little flavor, that extra little touch. Makes it feel a little bit more homemade. And that you're going to put that over your peppers. And here's another aside. Once you finish, it goes off after 20 minutes, your alarm, that you have been softening a little bit your peppers. Make sure that you drain them because they do have, peppers have a content of water, so make sure that you drain them and dry them off, pat them dry a little bit too before you begin filling them. I don't know if this happens to you, but it has happened to me in the past. Upon occasion, I will have meat and rice left over, a little bit, and it's enough just to make a little lunch if you want. You throw a little bit of cheese or something onto it, it's delicious. But in this case, even though some of the peppers were slightly smaller than others, it seemed that I was able to pack them in there good, and I used all of it. What I had left over, I actually used to just throw it into the bottom of the pan, because you could always just take a little bit out when you're having dinner. You could put a little bit more on your plate, as you see here, rather than waste it. Because it wasn't enough for a lunch, but it was enough just to add it to the bottom of the pan. As you can tell also, I have a smaller plate to put them in, a smaller dish that is able for the oven. Top that also with the sauce, and they look pretty and inviting. And I cooked that for 350 for 20 minutes. About the last 5 minutes of cooking, add some mozzarella to the top, let it cook for that last 5 minutes so that it's all melted, and dinner is ready. As you can tell, I wasn't shy about filling these guys, so one pepper is really a meal in itself, but I did pair it with a light and pretty salad. So it was, as Julie Child would say, bon appetit. I hope you've enjoyed my recipe, which you can find it below in the, I wrote it out as best I can, you know, with that little dashes of Worcester sauce, below in the description. And I thank you for joining me today. If you've enjoyed my video, please hit the like button and consider becoming a subscriber. I'd love to hear what you think in the comments, and let me know if you do try it, because I'd love to hear how it turned out for you. So thank you for joining me, and then I'll see you in the next video. Until then, God bless.